Hello and welcome to this overview of the 2026 Funds for Artists program. My name is Kayla Carr and I am a program manager here at the Greater Columbus Arts Council. If you haven't met me yet, I typically oversee the Artist Projects program, project support, cultural festival funding, and while this program is not being offered this year, in the past I oversaw our Mural Assistance for Artists and Organizations programs. Funds for Artists, however, is one of our largest grant programs. So it's currently being managed by all three of our staff members. We tag team it, and I'll mention this again at the end of this presentation, but you can always reach out to the entire grants and community impact team simply by emailing grants@gcac.org, or you can call us by dialing 614-221-8806. So with all that being said, welcome. If you are watching this workshop, you're probably an artist based here in Franklin County. In this workshop, we'll walk through eligibility, both for you as the applicant and also for the expenses that you can apply for. We'll have an overview of the guidelines and also our application portal, Smart Simple, so you can submit a strong application. And then Funds for Artists is also known as FFA. So you might be hearing me say that throughout this presentation. Just know I'm talking about this program. Funds for Artists, FFA, same thing. Formerly, we used to call it SPA, which was Support for Professional Artists. But FFA opened this past Monday, June 1st, and will close on October 1st later this year. So applications are being accepted on a rolling basis, and the maximum award amount is $750. And then applicants typically will receive notification within 60 days of submitting their application. To get started, let's head to our main website, which can be found at gcac.org. This is where all of our grant guidelines live, where workshops are shared. There's a GCAC calendar up at the top right, and also just general information about our organization. You can also search for opportunities such as jobs, calls for artists, outside workshops, and even board opportunities for other local arts and cultural organizations here in Central Ohio. We always recommend to start with the guidelines first. So to find the Funds for Artists guidelines, you'll look for where it says for artists. This could be at the top of the page where the arrow is pointing, or it could be at the center of the page underneath our tagline that we have circled here. Let's go ahead and click up at the top. You'll get a drop-down menu with a ton of different options, and what you're looking for is funding for artists. Once you click on Funding for Artists from that drop-down menu, you'll see this page with the list of all available grant, fellowship, award, and residency opportunities for the current year. They are in order of when the programs open to the public. And then Funds for Artists is fourth down from the top of the list, so let's go ahead and click on that. And then when you click on the name of the program, you will be able to see a short summary detailing the grant's purpose, who it's open to, the award amount, how applications are evaluated, and also the program's timeline. So this is just a really good way to shop through opportunities that we offer. You can click on each tab without having to open up the full guidelines to just kind of see what you might be interested in applying for. And as we look towards Funds for Artists, you will click Full Details at the bottom left to open up the complete guidelines. Or if you want to work, in a more traditional sense, you can also download a PDF version and print that out if you prefer to work with pen and paper. So once you're here, once you've clicked on Full Details, this is where you'll find all of the information regarding the Funds for Artists grant. This is what you'll see at the very top of the guidelines page. It's essentially the same information in that previous summary. And as you scroll down, the guidelines are divided into the following sections. So again, this is at the very top of your page. We've got the purpose, who the grant is open to, the award amount, the evaluation, and next steps after you've submitted, and then also the major deadlines that you should note. And then you'll also see the application portal linked right up there at the top right. So let's go ahead and scroll down to see those sections. And this is where you'll see, where the entirety of the guidelines live. So under the description, you'll see the grant's purpose. Under eligibility, this is eligibility criteria for both the applicant and the expenses that you'll be applying for. You'll see that there's a list of eligible expenses available as well. On the left, you'll see the staff contact. Again, that's just the entire team for now. Maybe someday it'll be just one of us overseeing the entire program. But for right now, it's a team effort. And then we'll have the link to Smart Simple. So that's the online application portal. This will always appear on our website as a brown or bronze colored button. And then you'll see the timeline and also application questions in entirety. So just a reminder that this program opened on June 1st. That's in the timeline information. And then all of the information on the next steps after you've been accepted, including payment, final reports, publicity requirements, etc., is listed below. My advice is to have the guidelines pulled up next to you or printed out in front of you as you fill out the application in Smart Simple. So I'd say, 75% of the time, folks do receive a decline because they did not read through the guidelines in entirety. So I assure you all of the information is in there. And if you're ever just unsure about something, you can reach out to us before applying or before submitting your application. That's always better than submitting and receiving a decline because specifically this year, updated for 2026, you actually are not able to reapply once you've been declined. So if you do receive a decline this year, then you'll have to wait until 2027 to reapply. So make sure that these guidelines are read and that they are available to you as you are working on the official application in Smart Simple. So getting into the grant, the nitty-gritty of Funds for Artists, the purpose of this program is really just to help artists like you and like me, and like those in our community who want to make new work. So that's, acquiring new supplies and materials, who want to grow their skills. Maybe it's a professional development opportunity, and who want to connect with a broader audience. So maybe that's through marketing or promotion of their artistic practice. So Funds for Artists is open to individual working artists. GCAC does have a standard definition of working artist, which we'll go over in the next few slides. And additionally, you must be working in one of the following disciplines. So GCAC supports 7 disciplines, and that is dance, fashion, film, literary, music, theater, and visual arts. And you can also be multidisciplinary. You don't just have to work in one of those disciplines. You can work in one or more of them. Again, this grant is non-competitive, so we only review for eligibility and completeness of your application, and you will hear back from GCAC no more than 60 days after you've submitted. And again, the program is currently open and will remain open through October 1st at 5 p.m. We say 5 p.m. specifically because that's when we are off work. We won't be here past that time on deadline day to assist with any technical help or questions. So that's why it's really important to try to get your application in ahead of that date and time. I'm not saying, rush and get it in the first week that the grant is open, but definitely try and keep in mind that October 1st deadline. And then onto the award amount, grantees will receive 100% of their grant following the receipt of a digitally signed grant agreement. So the maximum award amount this year is $750. And if you happen to apply with an ineligible expense, we will just subtract that anticipated cost from your requested amount. So if your anticipated cost exceeds $750, just note that you are responsible for that overage. We won't award any more than $750 through this program. With that being said, you also won't be required to hold on to your receipts this year, nor will you receive a 1099. So you will only receive a 1099 if you were awarded $2,000 or more from GCAC. And then all payments will be issued through ACH direct deposit unless otherwise requested. This just helps manage, check fraud and lost mail. And again, banking information is collected or updated with changes if you're already in our system within your personal profile, and it is stored securely in the application portal. You do have up to 9 months from your award date to spend the funds. So if you do need an extension, you'll just communicate that to grant staff ahead of your final report deadline. So who is FFA open to? Hopefully if you're watching this, then you should identify as an artist working in one or more of the 7 disciplines I just mentioned. And in addition to being a working artist, you also need to be a resident of Franklin County for at least 1 year prior to application. So again, new this year, updated for 2026. Due to limited funding, applicants from bordering counties are unfortunately no longer eligible to apply. So I know that sucks to hear, and I hope that in the future we can extend our reach to bordering counties, but due to limited funding, we must stick to this new eligibility criteria. And lastly, you cannot be a degree-seeking undergraduate student. MFA students are okay to apply, and you must be 18 years or older. If you were awarded a Funds for Artists grant in 2025, you are only eligible if your final report has been submitted and approved since then. And additionally, Funds for Artists cannot be combined with funding that you might have received through artist projects or virtually any nonprofit-led project that is already financially supported by GCAC. We just call this no double dipping. Those are all different grant programs out there, and we don't want to combine funding. So, am I a working artist? I'm not here to tell you if you are an artist or not, but GCAC does have a few set points that help us narrow down eligibility. So, by GCAC definition, if you are a working artist, you have a collection of your work to show. Maybe that's a portfolio, performance history, published work, or past projects. You earn money from your art in some sort of way, shape, or form. This could be selling your work or getting paid for performances. And then you also regularly spend time creating art and sharing it with others. So whether that's through shows, events, online platforms, or other public opportunities. And lastly, you've learned your skills either formally or on your own. All art is okay here. Regardless, you should be working to improve and grow as an artist, and you also stay connected to other artists in the community. And then lastly, not I said lastly the last time, but this is true lastly, your work must focus on your own creative ideas and expression rather than simply documenting, or covering other people's work. So this is where you can kind of consider like client-led projects. That's not necessarily your work. That's a client giving you the instruction for what type of artwork they want. We really want to focus on those who are, expressing their own creative and aesthetic ideas. And then eligibility in terms of who is not eligible to apply. We do recognize that many people contribute to Central Ohio's creative economy, and we appreciate the talents of all creatives working in our region. However, due to limited funding, we are unable to accept applications from influencers or YouTube, TikTok, Instagram content creators, culinary artists or chefs, models and stylists, body artists. Again, think client-led, so makeup, nails, hair, tattoos. Producers, I do want to note real quick on producers, music producers, creative directors, art directors. While the term producer and artist are often used adjacent or interchangeably, they do each focus on different aspects of bringing a project to life. So a producer is typically responsible for like the logistical aspects of a project, whereas a working artist would be involved in the actual creation of the artwork or the actual performing of the project. The key distinction lies between where a producer ensures that the artist has viable working conditions, and then in contrast, the artist directly generates the content, and it's their creative ideas, techniques, and skills that give life to the final creation of the work. So we can accept applications from producers. sound, recording engineers, podcasters, and strictly commercial photographers or videographers. So if you're only doing weddings or if you're only doing family portraits or business headshots, that is not eligible. And then again, strictly club or mobile DJs hired for private or public events. So think weddings, clubs, parties, um, religious or worship leaders creating work solely for one congregation. And lastly, artists creating work solely using artificial intelligence. Moving on to the eligibility of your expenses, funds may be requested for the cost of supplies, materials, and resources to help you make new work, to attend a professional development or learning opportunity, and or for expenses that assist with the marketing or promotion of your work as an artist. So here's a list of what would be accepted under the make new work category. Materials and supplies, this could be paint, canvas, fabric, film, paper, ink, or woodworking materials. Um, the purchase or rental of tools, this could be a camera rental, sewing machines, pottery wheels, lighting kits, software, hardware, laptops and computers. Maybe you need a laptop for editing. Adobe Creative Cloud subscriptions, those are getting pretty pricey, and also music production software. Space rental for rehearsal, performance, or exhibits. Maybe this is a dance studio rental or a studio space or a pop-up space. And then lastly, post-production services. So video editing, sound mixing, photo retouching, printing, and framing expenses. So again, we're not here to tell you what types of supplies that you need. This is just sort of suggestions as to what we would find eligible. And if there's anything in this list that doesn't encompass what you're looking to get funding for, you can always reach out to us just to make sure that what you're looking for is eligible. So just a reminder that this list is not comprehensive and there's a lot of different things that I didn't mention that could be listed under this category. The next category is marketing expenses. So that could be PR consultants. Maybe there's someone to pitch your work to the media or to get press for a show or project. Print or digital advertisement, Instagram ads, Facebook promotions, posters, flyers for an event, distribution services. Maybe you're uploading music to Spotify or Apple Music, film distribution platforms, online print sales, promo videos. Maybe it's a short trailer for something, an artist reel, or a behind the scenes video for social media and website or logo design. So maybe you're a literary artist and you're looking to hire a designer to create your personal website or a logo for your brand or the cover for your book. Those are just some examples. And then in the professional development category, this could be classes, one-on-one instructions, or workshops. Online classes are eligible as well. Residency or fellowship fees, submission fees, conference registration fees, and flights or lodging for formal invited artistic opportunities. So tagging onto that, travel expenses are eligible. However, meals and incidentals are not. So any expenses related to performance, event, exhibition, and showcases are eligible. This could be venue rentals, special event permits, costumes. Again, this is not intended for nonprofit organizations, and you cannot apply for expenses that are related to a project that's already supported by a GCAC grant. And then regarding travel expenses, these are related to specific formal artistic opportunities. So these include, but are not limited to, conferences, residencies, multi-day workshops or intensives, or any confirmed paid performance and touring. So GCAC will not cover travel unrelated to a formal program or our invitation, and then travel for inspiration or to see art institutions as a visitor is not eligible. So if you're just traveling for simple research and things like that, that would not be eligible. You do have to have some sort of proof of confirmation for your respective travel opportunity at the time of applying. Um, Expenses related to registration fees, flight, lodging, and ground transportation are all supported. And again, meals and incidentals are not eligible. This is an example of expenses that are not eligible. This is not comprehensive, so if you're unsure about something, do reach out to grants@gcac.org ahead of submitting. So this includes everyday personal items like smartphones, TVs, furniture, or home upgrades. This grant won't cover general household items or studio upgrades. Promoting a business that isn't your personal art practice. So you can't use this for another business or side hustle, only your own arts practice. Paying yourself or covering personal expenses. This includes rent, bills, childcare, or your own artist fees. Studio rent is okay. And then things you already bought or paid for. So this grant won't reimburse any past purchase. It's only for future expenses after you've officially been awarded the Funds for Artists grant. Projects run by a nonprofit or organization. Again, this request must be for you as the individual artist, not another group or organization, as most local arts orgs already receive GCAC funding. Costs already covered by another GCAC grant. Again, you can't use this for the same expenses as an artist projects grant. FFA is a supply grant and artist projects is a project grant. So two totally separate programs. And then lastly, supplies for teaching or student/youth projects, simply because this funding is for your own arts practice, not classroom or education-based work. So in addition to staff assistance, live and recorded walkthroughs of the application process, just like this video, will be available on our workshop page. Also, GCAC navigators are available to answer questions as well. They are all trained on the Funds for Artists program and are grantees themselves. If you do not have access to a computer to complete an application, we do have a computer lab that you can reserve for about an hour. Just contact grants@gcac.org to reserve your time, and please do so at least 48 hours in advance of your desired date, and no later than 2 weeks before an application deadline. This is just to ensure that we have the staff capacity to help you. GCAC has also partnered with Art Possible Ohio to provide support to artists with disabilities. Artists needing assistance while completing GCAC grant applications should reach out to Lori Esposito at Art Possible at granthelp@artpossibleohio.org to schedule a time. So please reach out early. Emails received within a week of a grant deadline will not be accommodated. And then at the end of this video, there will be a slide with the QR code that you can scan. Each QR code will link you to the mentioned resources. I'll also be sure to include the links directly in the description of this video if you're watching from our YouTube channel. So this is the timeline that you will see within the application guidelines. Again, applications are accepted on a rolling basis. It's been open since this past Monday, June 1st, and will close on October 1st by 5 p.m. And Funds for Artists applications are reviewed by GCAC staff for eligibility and completeness. So we simply determine artist and expense eligibility, and then we review for accuracy. Unlike some of our other programs, this grant is non-competitive and it is not scored or ranked. And then approvals are based on reviews and available funding. So applicants will be notified by email of their application status within 60 days of submitting the application. And I'll say this again, an important update for 2026 is that incomplete or ineligible applications will not be reconsidered. So it's critical to review the guidelines carefully and submit a complete application the first time around. Otherwise, if you are declined, you will not be able to apply again until 2027. So this is what our application portal looks like. Well, not what it looks like, but this is where you can find it on our website. On gcac.org, you'll see it linked at the top right of the full guidelines description. Again, it's in that bronze colored button, or you can just type in gcac.smartsimple.com. So if you've received a Funds for Artists grant from us before, or a mural grant or something like that, then you should already have a login. And if you can't remember, simply type in your email and click Forgot Password. If you do have an account with us, then you'll receive a password reset email to that email address on file. So once we're in the application portal, this is what that login screen looks like. You'll either log in as usual, or if you're new, you'll register and you'll make a new account. FFA is only open to individuals. So if you register as a nonprofit organization, or if you are logged into your nonprofit's account, then you will not see the application available to you. Once you're logged in, please make sure that your information is correct in your personal profile, simply because when GCAC staff is looking at the portal from the internal side, if we need to contact you, then we're just going to have to go off of what we have in front of us and what is on your profile in our system. So this means your name, preferred pronouns, your artistic discipline, your email address, your phone number. All of that should be up to date. Try and get in the habit of making sure it's up to date every time that you log into the portal. I would hate for someone to miss a notification or to miss out on a grant opportunity simply because we have the wrong email or phone number in our system. So please, please, please ensure that you keep your profiles up to date when possible. So once you've logged into Smart Simple, this is what your dashboard will look like. From this page, you can also change your password, update your profile, fill out contracts and reports, and more. And then when you click on your initial, in this instance, the circled K at the top right, that's where you can see a little drop-down menu, and you can change your password and click on your personal information as well. And then to access the Funds for Artists application, you'll see a little acorn, and next to it says Grant and Fellowship Opportunities. It's circled right there on the right. And if you're not able to start a new application, then it's possible that your profile requires updating. So circled at the top left is where you'll need to go to update that personal information before starting a new application. To begin your application, click on Apply Now. This is the Grant and Fellowship Opportunities pop-out window that comes up when you click on those opportunities from your dashboard. And if you've already started an application, then it will live under Applications/Forms in Progress, and it will block you from clicking Apply Now at this point. So once you come across this screen, notice at the top left that it has my name. In this case, it's just a test profile, but it will actually just say new application until you click on Save Draft. So be sure to click on Save Draft first, just to start and save the application in your name. And continue to save draft as you work on filling out the application sections. So it's super easy to lose progress if you do not click Save Draft as you move through each tab. And all of the application questions are currently on our website within the Funds for Artists guidelines. If you want to draft your application outside of the portal, you can do so by following the guidelines and keeping answers in a separate Word document. This is also just a great way to ensure that your work is backed up as well. So what are the application questions? You don't see them all here in this screenshot, but I do want to note that answers with fewer than 2 to 3 sentences for questions 2 and 3 specifically will not be accepted. So in the first question, we ask you to simply list what you plan to spend GCAC funds on. We do ask you to be detailed and specific. We just need a detailed answer. We don't necessarily know what you need, and so this is your opportunity to explain that to us and how you'll use it. And then question number 2, how will the funds help you create your new work, grow your artistic skills, or market your art to a broader audience? And question number 3, describe how you regularly share or plan to share your artwork with the public, whether it's performances, exhibitions, sales, publishing, or events. Again, strong applications are clear and specific. So be detailed about your expenses and your goals, and just make sure you fully answer each question. GCAC staff may or may not be familiar with your work, so it is important that you take the time to fully explain where you're coming from and where you'd like to go. So the Funds for Artists application includes a budget, a description of what you're requesting funds for as it relates back to your artistic practice. There's a section called titled expenses where you will add individual line items for each expense, and you can add up to 8 line items here. So if you have more than 8, then you may consolidate expenses if you're purchasing many items. So an example of that would just be in the description, you can put art supplies or all expenses, and then you can put in parentheses, acrylic paint, a brush set, easels, and then the cost you can put 200. And then you can add another line and call it framing services, and then in the cost put 1,000. So once you click save, it will automatically total those two expenses to 1,200. But you have to click save first in order for the system to automatically do that math for you. So to get to this point, once you're in the expenses tab, you will just click on the add/edit expenses button, and that will open up a pop-out window titled Request from GCAC. You'll simply add that description of the expense, for example, paintbrushes, and then the anticipated costs to the right of the description. So anticipated costs are just simply based on your research. They might fluctuate or they might change throughout the year. That's totally fine as long as you get approval from us first if there's a new expense or an expense that you'd like to remove from your budget. And then again, clicking that plus button will allow you to add an additional line item, and you'll just need to be sure to click save when you're finished. So what are the required supplemental materials and uploads? All support materials must be uploaded digitally to the application portal. Please include as much detail as possible so that staff can easily verify your qualifications. So the required supplemental materials include your artist resume. This means that you must demonstrate that you qualify as a working artist with an independent body of work. So this is where you will list any past exhibitions, performances, film screenings, publications, or readings. And the file types that are accepted for artist resumes include Word docs, PDFs, JPEGs, and PNGs. And if you do not have an artist resume and or bio, try researching first or maybe asking a friend. GCAC staff does not have the capacity to help you put your resume together specifically, but we do have various workshop recordings that may help with your supplemental materials. So, Google, YouTube, and direct peer-to-peer or artist-to-artist feedback are all super helpful to you. And then we do require that you upload up to 5 artistic work samples. That can be images, videos, or audio, and or a link to a website showing these artistic work samples. And then for travel requests, you will have to submit documentation that details the dates of attendance and expectations of you as the invited artist. So maybe this looks like an official invitation, a confirmation email, or maybe it's the conference site that lists the dates and times and locations. And then websites or work samples must include an independent body of work created by you that is strictly your own artistic expression. So any commercial artistic work, such as portrait or event photography, maybe you do graphic design for businesses, or you are a film or music producer for businesses, none of that qualifies. Just think client-led when it comes to what's an ineligible expense. And then if you need to note something within your application, you can come to the left-hand side and under where it says main, you'll see where it says notes. You'll just need to click where it says notes, and then you can click the plus sign button next to type and select note to council. So once you leave your note, you'll just click save at the bottom, and then that will come back to grant staff and we can reply from there. There really is no difference if you choose to email grants@gcac.org versus wanting to leave a note on your application. The notes, you can simply just see your correspondence with us as well. And then once you are finished with your application, the last step is the certification tab. You'll just tick all of these boxes and read through the information, of course, and then click on Submit Application when you're ready at the bottom of the page. If you're not ready and you just want to get all this done and out of the way, you can just click on Save Draft and come back to it at a later time. But just so you know, once you've clicked Submit, we can't undo that for you. So this certification tab just promises that you are a resident of Franklin County and that you are not a high school or degree seeking undergraduate student. And also that you understand that this grant is considered taxable income and a 1099 will only be sent each year that you receive $2,000 or more from GCAC. And then if you accidentally submit it before you're done, again, you will have to reach out to me or grants@gcac.org so that we can reset it to draft status for you. Typically, we try not to do this just because of the high volume of applications that we do receive. But of course, accidents do happen. Just depending on the timeline and where we're at in the cycle of the grant, we may be able to reset it back for you. But typically, once applications are submitted, there's really nothing else that we can do. Especially this year since you have to apply next year if you receive a decline. And then once you've submitted your application and you're totally done, here's what will happen. Number one, applications will be reviewed within about 60 days by GCAC staff. We only scan for eligibility of both you as the individual, but also of your request and also completeness of your application. And then two, you'll receive a notification by email from grants@gcac.org. And if awarded, you'll sign a grant agreement before you receive your payment. Approvals are based on available funding, but also if you are not approved, just like I said in the last slide, unfortunately, you cannot reapply until next year. And then if you're awarded, hopefully you're awarded, funds are distributed after signing the grant agreement. The grant agreement is simply just a contract between you and GCAC. You'll be awarded 100% of your grant once the contract has been signed, and then proof of residency will be verified during the application process. So any additional documentation may be required. We'll be sure to ask for it, but no changes in your proposed expenses can occur without prior written approval from GCAC. So just send an email to grants@gcac.org if this happens to you and you need to request a change in spending or activity. Lastly, we ask that you say a quick thank you in some sort of public way. This grant is supported by public funding, so it's super important to us to let people know how those funds are being used. When people see the impact of the FFA grants, it does build support for continued investment in this program and in the arts in general. So not only does it benefit GCAC, but it also highlights your work and achievements. Sharing that you received a grant can help promote your work and also grow your audience. And this can look like a social media posting or even a letter or email to our public funders as listed in Appendix A. So Appendix A can be found on gcac.org, but it will also be linked directly in your grant agreement. Live and recorded walkthroughs of the application process will be available on our workshops page. GCAC navigators are available to answer your questions. And if you don't have access to a computer to complete an application, again, we have the computer lab that you can reserve for about an hour. Just contact grants@gcac.org to reserve time. And then lastly, GCAC has partnered with Art Possible Ohio to provide support to artists with disabilities. So any artists needing assistance while completing their grant applications should reach out to Lori Esposito at Art Possible Ohio. Her email address is granthelp@artpossibleohio.org. And all you'll need to do is reach out and schedule a time. Just be sure that you're reaching out early so that you're respectful of Lori's time, but also because emails received within a week of the grant deadline will not be accommodated. So I'll leave this up here just for a second if you want to pause the page and take a quick scan. You can do that using your phone, or you can just head to our website and you'll see all of these things available there as well. So that's it. That's it for our Funds for Artists workshop today. We will have an in-person or virtual one scheduled here within the coming months. This is just so that I can get this up on our website for our folks applying in this first week that the grant is open. So if you want to find the Funds for Artists guidelines, you can scan the QR code up here at the top left. You can head to our website, gcac.org, or you can make sure that you are all set up in the application portal, which is just gcac.smartsimple.com. Our grant staff contact is 614-221-8806, and of course, grants@gcac.org. And then lastly, the information is not up on the screen, but again, my name is Kayla Carr, and I am a program manager here at GCAC. You can also reach out to me at kcarr, KCARR, @gcac.org. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of your applications, and just reach out if there's anything else that we can help with.